This video is intended to demonstrate how parliamentarians can better influence the budget process. The Caribbean Development Bank is committed to ensure that systems of integrity, fair treatment, and civic engagement are given central focus in regional and national development. Parliamentary oversight is essential to achieving policy priorities such as sustainable development and gender equality, and to ensure that government policies reach all sectors of society. The national budget is one of the most powerful tools a country has at its disposal for development and poverty reduction. Hence, it is important to understand the allocation and implementation of public resources. Expenditure should be based on two things: stated priorities and making public programs more effective. Citizens have a right to know how their money is being spent, and those responsible are to be accountable. Parliamentarians can lead this charge. Parliaments represent the totality of people, women and men, rich and poor, majorities and minorities. MPs give them voice at the highest level of state. Parliaments undertake oversight to promote economic and human development, gender equality and anti-corruption, as well as achieving the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs. Research has shown that Parliament's oversight capacity has a positive impact on standard of living, stability, public trust, and satisfaction with democracy. As countries recover from the COVID-19 pandemic, MPs can prevent deepening inequalities through the adoption of people-centered policies that ensure that no one is left behind. MPs play a key role at different stages of the budget cycle. In general, there are 4 stages to the budget cycle process: preparation, approval, implementation, and auditing. It is important to know that the budget cycle should be viewed as an ongoing process rather than in stages. Before we dive into an overview of the budget cycle, let's consider the importance of transparency and participation. Budget information needs to be accurate, reliable, and comprehensive. Information should be available in an accessible format and in timely fashion. This ensures accountability. For transparency, the OECD recommends that MPs should have access to the following key documents: a comprehensive budget, a pre-budget report, monthly reports, a mid-year report, a year-end report, a pre-election report, and finally, a long-term report. Broader participation is important to build the public understanding and consensus needed to make difficult budgetary decisions. In parliamentary systems, the preparation of a budget is seen as a government's core responsibility. However, given that it is very difficult for parliaments to amend the budget, it is imperative to think more strategically about MPs having influence earlier in the budget process. The OECD recommends that governments should publicly release a pre-budget report or budget strategy paper no later than 1 month prior to the budget proposal. Even in the absence of this, MPs should be asking questions in Parliament about budget strategy and its link to national development strategies and plans for meeting the SDGs. It is a core responsibility of the Parliament to review and approve the national budget as tabled by the government. Even though governments often command strong majorities in Parliament, MPs can still influence actual outcomes and generate wider debate. This ensures confidence in the budget process. Video 2 on ex-ante will provide practical advice and tips on how to scrutinize income and expenditure plans. The implementation stage commences at the beginning of the fiscal year, and it falls to the MPs to oversee the government's actual spending. In-year budget reports are effective tools to show progress in implementing the budget and explaining any variations. Another option is to entrust the task of monitoring the government's execution of the budget to a dedicated parliamentary committee. In Jamaica and Trinidad and Tobago, for example, this role has been entrusted to a Public Administration and Appropriations Committee. During this stage, an independent audit institution analyzes government accounts. This is followed by the consideration of audit findings by the MPs. Year-end financial statements should be made available within 6 months of completed audit. The audit reports need to be produced and tabled in Parliament as speedily as possible. Long delays undermine accountability. Public accounts committees scrutinize audit findings and are seen as a crucial mechanism to facilitate transparency in government financial operations. An example is the Public Accounts Enterprise Committee in Trinidad and Tobago, which examines the reports and determines whether the affairs of these public enterprises are being managed soundly. Audit committee reports and their recommendation must be followed by a formal response from the government and be acted upon to ensure improvements in the public financial system. Video 3 will expand more upon the ex post stages of the budget cycle. A major takeaway from this video should be that MPs have a key role to play during all stages of the budget cycle. When MPs follow the entire budget process, they will be in a position to acquire relevant expertise, create discussion, and keep track of emerging issues. Expenditures should be based on national priorities and on the effectiveness of public programs. In their role, parliaments can use their powers and influence to focus the government on meeting the SDGs and ensuring no one is left behind. Our next two videos will consider in more detail that role in both budget planning and expenditure allocations, ex ante, and in the financial reporting, external audit, and evaluation ex post phases of the budget process.